Now, before we begin and talk about anything, let's go down and look through the official description of Iroha's doppel. The master of this emotion is aware of how pitiful her doppel is and refuses to look at it. This doppel wordlessly wraps around and strangles anything it doesn't want to hear as it continues its search for something to fill the hole in its heart. While it should be calling for someone, it is cowardly and afraid of acknowledging the reality it has concealed, and so it remains, silently covering its ears. And we'll be able to see all of those points that we've just seen in the official description actually come up in some way during this episode. So already big shout outs to act for the showrunners of actually making the doppel description canon and basing stuff around this description in the show. But yeah, let's go on with the actual review of this. Yeah, this will probably be the shortest difference video that I'll ever make, so let's just go into this. I'm just going to give a quick overview of the episode while going into stuff that I did notice was actually in reference to the game, or maybe some designs, maybe some stuff that was said here and there. Maybe it does actually link up to some of the stuff in the game, so maybe I can still show you guys some cool stuff by going through this episode once again. So we start out with Nemu, who wants Iroha to be saved, and the interesting bit is that she kind of tries to explain how Iroha got to the Eternal Sakura rumor without actually explaining how she got there. She talks about the root of all rumors, and of course we know that Iroha is part of the Eternal Sakura rumor. She's part of the 4 people that are supposed to meet up there again, but doesn't actually explain the logistics of how Iroha actually went back there. I mean, she was with Holy Mami as well. We have no idea what happened to her. She wasn't there, but she's somewhere. We know at the end of the episode that she's somewhere and she's fine, so let's just skip this part for now. Maybe in the next few episodes they're going to explain a bit more about that, more specifically about what Mami was actually doing, because I think that's the more important part. So then we continue, and Kura and Yachiyo are swept up by Iroha's doppel. By the way, Iroha's doppel, which I'm going to call from now by its actual name, is called Giovanna. So Giovanna follows them all up and brings them into this dream world kind of thing, where Yachiyo wakes up in Mikazuki Villa and is greeted by Tsuruno, by Felicia, by Sana, and then she runs off. She embraces Iroha and is like, oh my god, I'm so happy. So then they have breakfast together, and they do the running gag again with Tsuruno's 50-point food, which is a running gag that happens a lot in the game as well, and specifically in all of the materials surrounding the game, like in Magia Report, which is the official gag comic for Magia Record, which, by the way, is absolutely phenomenal. Easily the best accompanying gag comic of any mobile game out there, right? Gouda Quest and stuff like that from the Gouda Order, whatever. They don't have shit on this, right? The Fire Emblem Heroes gag comic, that one is not that great anyway. But yeah, this one, oh my god, Mario Report is so good. However, there's also like just fan art or whatever. Like whenever you see Tsuruno fan art, chances are it's going to reference the 50-point gag in some capacity. So yeah, makes sense that they keep bringing it up in here, because like I said, it's always wherever Tsuruno is, does the 50-point gag. Now, interesting enough, of course, they have a seat for Kurue. I think in the wide shot we can actually see what's supposed to be Kurue's mug, but then in the other shot we don't see it, which is, I would like to actually see Kurue's mug, because everyone has got to have a mug at Mikazuki Villa, but we don't actually get to see it up close as far as I know. But yeah, Kura is also known by everyone, which already clues Yachiyo in that there's something weird is going on here, but it also clues us in, knowing what happens in this episode, that because Iroha is imagining this entire world, it basically means that to Iroha, Kurue, she views Kurue as a rather close friend, even though they were just acquaintances back in her hometown. But Iroha still thinks of her as something more, probably because she was friends with Kurue probably for longer periods of time back in Takarasaki, and in fact the only other person that she knew in Takarasaki, so probably that's why Iroha views Kurue in a special way, even though to Kurue she doesn't really care too much about Iroha, I guess. You just think like, oh yeah, Iroha is just some person I thought some witches with. Okay, sure, and that's probably where that ends. But yeah, Iroha does view Kurue as a pretty good friend, I guess. And then Kurue shows Yachiyo this little piece of paper that has like the Manen Sakura rumor written on it, so that Yachiyo gets clued in a bunch of stuff, and Yachiyo finds out a bunch of interesting stuff in this episode that the viewers, or rather the players of the game, only found out way later. Like, for example, we get the description of the Manen Sakura rumor that we also already got last episode, for example, which was something that we got in like chapter yeah, the end of chapter 8, beginning of chapter 9, maybe something like that. Yeah, something like end of chapter 8 is usually where we got that. So in this right now where we're on the game is like beginning of chapter 7. So we're jumping way later with the Magia and Sakura rumor, but I already said that last episode. We're gonna see some more stuff that Yachiro learns in the next few scenes. That is also stuff that we learned in like chapter 10 or something, the final chapter. So yeah, we're getting a bunch of stuff out of water. Not that I care, I think it's fine that we do that. And afterwards, Yachiro, Iroha, and Kuroe, they go take a train to the hospital, or they just get warped there, like teleported there. And here's a bunch more interesting stuff. Nemu and Toka, they sing about the Uwasa. And by the way, Nemu and Toka, they have a unit in the game. They have like a duo unit, the Nemu and Toka Holy Knight version, which is pretty cool. But they sing about Uwasa. And they sing about the Friendship Wedding Staircase, which they made in the hospital. They sing about the Seian Shrine rumor, which is interesting because the Seian Shrine rumor was not actually thought up by Toka and Nemu, or just in general by the trio, the hospital trio, or by the hospital trio plus Iroha. Like, none of them actually made up this rumor. It was actually Mifuyu who made up that rumor because she tried to use the rumor to trap Yachiro, at least in the game. That might have not actually happened in the anime. So there's two things going on. Either what I just said, that this is just different in the anime, that these people did actually come up with the Seian Shrine rumor and not Mifuyu in the anime, or this is Iroha's dream world and she just doesn't know. Iroha might just not know that they didn't actually come up with this rumor, so she just imagines that they did. They also saying about the Lucky Owl Water rumor, the Endless Solitude rumor, blah blah. And then we get to Ui being a bear. And the interesting part about bears is that bears, like plush bears, keep coming up. Like, whenever there needs to be a plush of anything, it's usually a bear. Or just in general, plushes come up a lot in the game. Because I guess Sana loves plushes, for example. Toka loves plushes. Kamore, they have like this little plush bear that we saw in the early episodes. So yeah, they're just all the rage, dude. And some of the places that appears also in the game is some enemies. For example, there is in chapter 9, there's the bear Uwasa, the bear soldier Uwasa, which is a bear, stuffed bear basically, that's fighting. And we also had in one event, the Uwasa Sun event, they weren't bears, but we had stuffed animals as enemies because they were summoned by a rumor. Like, for example, here's the Miss Persalot rumor, Mr. Persalot rumor minion right here, which looks crazy. And yeah, I really like that. Like, I really like it when Doro Ine, like, Curry makes some big crazy stuff. Anyway, then Bear Ui talks about Chalation Land, which is interesting. So they basically want to go to Chalation Land, this new like amusement park that's opening, which is a bit weird, because that's the very next rumor that we are going to find in chapter 7. And I assume in the next episode, we're probably going to hear more about Chalation Land, and we're probably going to go over there because Rumor Tsuruno needs saving. Maybe some of that is going to happen in the next episode. But yeah, interesting that they already mentioned this rumor. They're probably just trying to tell us, like, hey, here's a little foreshadowing hint for the next bit. But then it also brings up the idea of, hold up a second. How does Iroha know of Chalation Land? Was this actually a rumor that she knew about from her time at the hospital? Did she hear about Chalation Land? Or did she not hear about this, and while she was at Magia and Sakura rumor, she somehow heard of this? Maybe she was able to tap into the memories of Nemu and Toka while she was at Magia and Sakura, because they're also connected to the rumor and stuff like that. I don't know. It's possible that she just heard about it in the hospital and just happens to line up with what's going to happen next. Now, after all of that, Yachiro figures out exactly what's going on, and she tries to break out by attacking some stuff, by finding some other place. Shoutouts, by the way, to Kuroe taking off her shoes when she jumps onto the bed. I like that. But yeah, Yachiro goes into some deeper part of the labyrinth while Kuroe stays behind and just does nothing, but that's fine. So afterwards, then Iroha and friends go and they fight a witch together. And here's another interesting bit. This witch does look like an Oscar. And Oscar is the witch minion of Shitori Egomo, Ui's witch. So that's kind of interesting that in Iroha's mind, she views just a generic witch in this shape. And I think the reason why is because, Ui and Iroha, they're sisters, of course. They probably have similar ideas for minions, for witches. So if Ui's witch summoned Oscars and they look like that, from her mind, of course, it kind of makes sense that Iroha, I guess, also imagines witches in sort of a similar way. It's kind of hard to describe, but let's just say that, of course, the soul bond between sisters, so they imagine them being in a similar shape, I guess. Also interesting enough that you see the, it has this number on the 168. Now, if you sound this out in Japanese, it's like Ichiroku Hachi, I think, and if you take the first syllable of all these, it says Iroha. Yay. And at the very end of that, you see also Iroha using Strata Futuro, which is, of course, her Magia, her ultimate attack in the game, which is pretty cool that they included that actually with the call-out. Now, after that, we cut back to Yachio, and Yachio is in the deeper part of Giovanna's labyrinth, and she sees in there some more references to the Nine of the Galactic Railroad, because Giovanna, like the name Giovanna is a reference to Nine of the Galactic Railroad. The name of Yachio's doppel, which is Campanella, is also a reference to Nine of the Galactic Railroad, because Campanella and Giovanna are the two main characters of that book. We see like a train, it goes around the stars. We see Iroha and friends being made out of stars. So yeah, more reference to Nine like a railroad, because why not? Then afterwards we get the scene where Koroe and the rest of Mikazuki, they do fireworks and they do stuff outside. That's a bit of character development with Koroe and with Iroha. That's pretty cool. Yachio is a maid, and Iroha totally has the hearts for her because, okay, sure. The important part about that, like towards the end, you want to talk about character development, is more so like Iroha talking about sharing the hope of others, and this sort of resonates with Koroe a little bit, especially when she tells Koroe that like Kuroe's hopes are also like part of her and stuff like that. And like maybe the first time we actually get some sort of character development for Koroe, even though she herself doesn't actually say or do anything. But hey, at least it like sort of hopefully gives us the foundation for Koroe doing stuff later, and she does do some stuff later in this episode as well. It's exactly because of these words. Now afterwards, Yachio finds some bear ui again and still doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Although I do find it rather funny with Yachio just sitting there not knowing what to do. Then Koroe asks Iroha about the bear ui thingy, and Iroha gets mad. And I want to just commend Shaft for just in general making everything look pretty cool. Like Iroha actually does look kind of imposing right here, even though she still looks, I mean, she's the pink hair protagonist. She can't really look too scary or spooky. But even so, they still managed to make her look at least a little bit scary and spooky with this stuff like here. And afterwards, also Yachio destroys Bear Ui. Giovanna appears. They have a bit of a fight. They connect. They destroy Giovanna. Not really much anything appears. Like, it's just they fight Bear Ui as a big like witch minion. It shows up its name. I didn't even go through translating that name. More importantly, at the end of that, Iroha and Yachio, they reunite, everything's happy, we get the ED, which is still getting its own video, and then Madoka writes a message to Mami in the post-credit scene, and Mami does actually respond. And the interesting part of this is that in the game, of course, Madoka and friends, they do try to contact Mami, but I don't think they ever actually manage to contact her, or she doesn't write anything back, but here she does. Also interesting bit about all of that. You know how at the very end when Yachio fights Giovanna, she talks about, oh, here's what Felicia's problems are, here's what Sana's problems are, but she doesn't talk about Tsuruno's problems, which I guess is also foreshadowing for the very next bit, because the kind of one of the plot points of the next bit with Rumo Tsuruno is that Iroha, and specifically Yachio, don't really know what's going on in Tsuruno's head, and the entire chapter is more so about finding out more about Tsuruno as a person. And that's pretty cool. And then at the very end, we get the last bit of... I haven't talked about this in the other two reviews, because I guess the end cards were mostly... like, they were the end cards. The first one was the Kako group with Kako, Ayame, and Felicia. I guess anime viewers don't really know who Kako and Ayame are, but I guess you could just say, oh, it's Felicia and some friends, okay? I didn't really talk much about that. The second one was Sakurako, which I showed during the review anyway. But this one, this end card... has Manaka on it, and which had a cameo at a way early episode, and it shows Tsumugi, which are basically the Mario Brothers. So we have the Mario Brothers right here. That's pretty good. But yeah, that was. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.